The most brilliant flavors always stay with you. So when I'm cooking, I have to capture them perfectly.
Miele's innovative kitchen appliances not only preserve freshness, but deliver consistently perfect cooking results.
Revealing the taste that nature created is the greatest gift in cooking.
Endless product combinations for outstanding kitchen designs.
Good afternoon. Welcome, bienvenue, willkommen. My name is Kelly Lamb. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Miele. From your home to our home here at the Miele Experience Center, we want to welcome you to Miele Live. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have viewers from across the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast to here in Ontario, where we're actually filming live to you right now. I want to send a very special warm welcome to customers who have been invited by some of our key retail partners to join us today. Again, from the West Coast in Vancouver, we have our great partners at Trail Appliances, Midland Appliances, Jerome Appliances, Avenue Appliances, as well as Baker's Appliances. In the East Coast, we have Almar Appliances in Montreal, as well as Creative Appliances in Ottawa. And here in Ontario, we have our great partners at Tasco, Goman's Appliances, as well as Appliance Canada. So I want to welcome those customers of our retail partners who are joining us today. For many of you who have joined us on Miele Live, more than a month ago, we've started a new campaign on our Miele Live platform called #MieleDinesLocal. And really this campaign was to really help some of the small businesses, restaurants, restaurateurs, chefs from across the country as we all face the challenges this pandemic has brought to us in Canada and around the world. And we put a challenge out there to these chefs to say, why don't you share with us one of your signature dishes from your restaurant? We want to invite you to join us, whether virtually or in person, to cook that dish, to talk about that dish with our customers, but also an opportunity for these restaurateurs and chefs to share more information about their restaurant during these challenging times. And what we would do is we would actually purchase 100 meals from these restaurants and chefs, and together with the restaurant chef, we would actually donate them to frontline workers or different organizations that are in need right now during this challenging time across Canada. So today, #MieleDinesLocal, we are so excited to have FK Restaurant and Chef Frank Parhizgar. Chef?
Perfect.
Sorry about that. So Chef Frank, we're really excited to have you here. Thank you. I know you guys are busy trying to reopen and get business back to as normal as can be right now, but we want to thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for having us here, and this is a great opportunity for us to not just showcase one of our signature dishes, but at the same time do a little bit of charity and good work that is well needed at such time.
So maybe you can tell, again, we have viewers from across the country, from Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, Saskatchewan joining us today. Maybe tell us a little bit about the restaurant, FK Restaurant. For those that aren't so familiar, that are not from Toronto, where are you guys located roughly in the city?
So we're at 770 St. Clair West, pretty close to St. Clair and Bathurst, if you want to say geographically. We used to have a restaurant, my wife and I, we opened a restaurant called Frank's Kitchen on College Street. We had it for about 10 years, and after 10 years, it was time to move on. Hence, we moved location to St. Clair area. The restaurant is called FK, short abbreviation for Frank's Kitchen. Yes. And we've been very fortunate to be received not just locally, but across the nation as well, with some good accolades and really great receptions. We've been very fortunate.
And so obviously for those that are not from Toronto, that's roughly Midtown Toronto.
That's Midtown, yeah.
Where you're located. And so how have things, what stage are you guys at right now in regards to the restaurant? What has happened over the last couple of months with the restaurant?
Well, it's been very challenging, very interesting. We are very fortunate to have had the great support from our previous clientele from Frank's Kitchen when we were on College Street, and have followed us to our new location as well. And it's been great support through just like gift certificate and curbside dining. Now the whole city has moved on into patios. We're very fortunate to have a corner unit which has a wraparound patio. So we're one of the fortunate restaurants who have benefited from that. I understand the city is putting a little bit more patios into blocking the streets and things of that nature, but it's been a very challenging time, very interesting and challenging time. Not just for us, but also our restaurant is a liaison between the suppliers and farmers. Like artisanal restaurant like us, who's you know, a liaison for a lot of farmers and foragers and purveyors to our guests. It's been a very challenging time, not just for us, but for everybody.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people really forget too that for a restaurant like yours too, that supply chain is so important because you do rely on farmers, purveyors for quality ingredients. And,
small restaurant like us, we have about 30 to 40 purveyors. Some of our specialties of seafood, microherbs, farmers, you know, cucumber grower, like, you know. But you know, when we've had such closure, it's quite interesting how dynamic the effects have been across the board. You know, so we're very lucky and we're very fortunate to be in phase 2 in Toronto, Ontario, where we're allowed to open our patios, and it gets things going. You know, it gets things going. We're very grateful.
And so prior to opening the patio, you guys were doing curbside.
Yes, we were doing curbside, and
you're still doing curbside now?
A balance of both.
Okay.
We do have certain clientele who are still, you know, of our older, and they appreciate the curbside still being continued on. It is a bit of a challenge for us, but it is one that we're very grateful because through 3 months when we were absolutely closed, the whole city was shut down. It was the curbside that really, you know, carried us through.
And so, Chef, what's on the menu right now, both for curbside, but also actually on the patio? Is the patio back to your old menu, or?
Well, yes and no. There are some challenges that we've had. Obviously, social distancing. Like, it's a challenge for not just logistics of, you know, we're a fine dining restaurant where we used to give you linen and cutlery changes and pour wine, pour your water. There are some logistical changes, like we're doing things like roll-ups, you know. So here's your cutlery, you touch it. It has never been touched by us. It's been sterilized. And, you know, we used to have bread baskets where you would choose your bread of the day or whatever the artisanal breads that we had made, or amuse-bouche and things of that nature. So things have changed quite a bit, and it's a welcoming change, if you want to say, across the board through a lot of restaurants in our city, and the dynamics with and the relationship with our guests as well. I mean, a lot of our servers are wearing masks, so it's kind of hard to be smiling and be cordial, and so everybody's adapting. And same as the menu. The menu is still signature to us, which is seasonal artisanality. Try to bring local farmers and purveyors and producers into the menu as best as we can.
Right.
And that's a challenge on its own too, because a lot of them are, some of the suppliers are not in position to provide you the services that they used to.
Right.
So
Like everything else right now. So maybe let's talk a little bit about, again, on the menu side of things. So on the curbside menu, so you're still offering it?
Yes, we're still offering it, and the curbside menu is very much the regular patio menu that we have right now, and people will just pick and choose from it, and we'll go from there, yeah.
And what are some of the items that are on there, let's say this week actually?
So we changed the menu. So for example, the week that just passed by, for example, you know, lamb chops to, you know, grilled steak to roasted black cod with lobster sauce and, you know, chilled soup. This is one of the dishes that we're doing today, for example, is chilled strawberry gazpacho with East Coast lobster in it as a garnish. And so the menu is still very much a signature to what our style have been. Luxury items, simply treated, allowed the purveyors and the ingredients itself to talk for themselves. And, you know, food and wine pairing best as we can in this challenging times.
So we're going to get on to, and we'll talk more about the restaurant as we go. But just for those that, you know, can't make it down to the patio, or still sometimes right now still prefer to eat at home, what's the best way to place the order for curbside?
So you can still reach us at FK Restaurant through the website. You can call us and we are doing curbside takeouts on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. You can still reach us at that time and plan your meal. I believe we're doing a prefix course, 3 courses, excellent value, great quality ingredients. And also our wine list for curbside is still 50% off. And if you are aware of our wine list, it is a quite treat of Grand Crus and value gems that it will be awesome to get at 50% off.
And for the patio itself, what days are you guys open?
Same thing. We're currently open Thursday, Friday, Saturdays.
Okay.
The rest of the days is a bit of a challenge for us that we are closed.
Okay.
We are working with our staff, and it's a challenging time.
Yeah, and you know, I think our viewers really appreciate your honesty too. That you know, just opening up a patio is not as simply as sometimes people think it is, because there are so many different safety precautions right now that everybody needs to take as a
and also on top of that, you also have weather permitting. So we were open Thursday and it was like a raining storm. It was like a mayhem, but yet I cannot believe the support, and just to give you a little bit of boost of confidence or moral support, if you want to say.
Right.
And our guests still are troopers. They still came out, sat
through the
sat through the rain
and wind.
And you know, we do the best that we can with it too. It's just you know, it's a very interesting time. I keep saying, like, I can't believe what's going on. Not that it's fake. It's just hard to compute what you're seeing to what's happening. It's like a movie. It's like a movie.
Chef, we do actually have already a question. So what, for our viewers out there as well, want to remind you these sessions are live, fully interactive. So be sure to, when you log into your YouTube account to watch us, you can ask a question via the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest videos as well. But we do have a question, Chef, from Carol Hudson out there. And Carol asks, what are the hours for the patio?
Carol, we are open Thursday to Saturday, and the hours are pretty much 4:30 till 9:30 for the patio.
And reservations required?
Reservation is highly recommended because part of phase 2 opening, we do need and require to ask our guests if they've been sick or if they're feeling you know, not well. We do need to take certain information, as it is to all the restaurants that are doing, in case something does happen at the restaurant, they can trace it back as to, and allow all the other guests that were into the, I call it dining room, which is not a dining room. If they were on the patio to be, you know, they can be informed that there was somebody who had COVID, and we can move on. So it is highly recommended you do make reservations. It also allows us to plan as well, because with limited seating and you know, you have a lot of people who do want to be on a patio and just still want to go out and celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, and things like that. It is very helpful to organize those kind of things.
Great. So Carol, hopefully you have a chance to go down and see Chef Frank and his team, and you know, thank you as well for being so responsible in how you guys have set it up. And you know, I know it's difficult for you, but also for guests, and hopefully together we can still create a great experience.
It's been quite a bit of challenge, yes. Yes.
So let's talk one of your signature dishes, and maybe we'll talk about some other ones later. So what are we actually cooking today, Chef?
So we're doing a chilled strawberry gazpacho, and it's garnished with Nova Scotia lobster and andouille sausage. Andouille sausage is this spicy, smoky, paprika and salty and all, super umami and flavorful from Spain. You don't have to put it into it. You can keep this dish as vegetarian and as vegan as possible. And it has quite a bit of versatility into it, and I cannot think of a better dish right now as local strawberries, local cucumber, and heirloom tomatoes just coming in season.
And it's hot outside.
And it's hot outside, and everybody has some kind of rosé going on, and this dish just screams yum, 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 and rosé.
So I'm going to let you get started then with the dish. So where will we start on?
Pretty much pretty simple dish, as we this is something you can make at home. Typical gazpacho requires a little bit of bread. We have some bread here that we've cubed up. Nothing special. You can use sourdough. In this case, it's French baguette. And a couple of ingredients. This is local Persian cucumber, heirloom tomato, some strawberries, a shallot. And the way you would make a typical gazpacho is usually done with tomatoes. So you would put a couple of these raw ingredients in a bowl, macerate it with a little bit of salt and pepper, and leave it for a night or two. The salt would leach out some of the tomatoes and the cucumbers, and you would puree it, and you have a gazpacho. This one we've added a little bit more element to it, so we're using Ontario strawberries, which is, they're not just sweet, they're like the crack cocaine of all the fruits. They're super acidic, really great sweetness to them. They're some of the most fantastic products, in my opinion, out of Ontario. They're just spectacular. So we try to utilize them as much as we can in a lot of our cooking. So this dish, we just start up with, bear with me, this is not my kitchen, so I'm trying to, there we go. So one of the things that we really want to do is just put a pan, a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to toast some of these croutons. And that will add a little bit of character and texture, and it also thickens your soup a little bit better as well. So while that's going, I'm just going to chop a little bit of this shallot. This is just the base for gazpacho.
Okay.
You don't always have to use raw onion or things of that nature into your gazpacho. In this case, we're just going to use a little bit of shallot just to take a little bit of that sting out. And I'm a huge fan of garlic, so we're going to use one garlic. All of this is going to get pureed anyway, so it need not worry to be pretty. And my God, what a treat it is to use this kitchen, by the way. This is fantastic.
We do have enough ovens and cooktops and everything for you, guaranteed.
This is like the equivalent of 3 Michelin star everything. So I'm going to put this at about a medium, and all you're trying to do is just toast up the croutons as if you're making your Caesar salad croutons, if you want to say. It's just a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of onion, garlic, and we're going to use some of the raw ingredients. This is Persian and cucumber. Pretty much you're just going to chop it up, put it in a bowl.
So, I have to ask you, and I'm sure
Yep.
you've got the question 1,000 times. Persian cucumber, difference to like an English cucumber?
Yes, so this is one of the heirloom seed of cucumber. These guys have a little bit of water content. The bitterness, which is most English cucumbers or cucumbers in general, will have a larger seed in the center of it. And then these ones, the seeds are much tinier and they're a lot sweeter and waterier and creamier. So for example, if you were making, oh, look at this, it's happening, there we go. Perfect. As you can see, we have a little bit of caramelization happening here, some salt, some of the shallot and onion and garlic are just toasting up.
But I like actually, I've never made a gazpacho where I've actually toasted, especially with the shallots and the garlic. I like that it takes that little bit of the raw bite.
And that's, yes. And like I said, I'm one of those people who is a big fan of garlic,
Yeah.
and I still want that little bit of garlic flavor in my food, but I just don't want it raw. And this is an excellent way to not just toast up the French baguette, but also to get some of the sting, like I said, out of the raw onion. So at this point, I've pretty much turned this off. We have the cucumber in there. We have some strawberries. We're just going to throw them in there. And
our Persian, you have purveyors. Are Persian cucumbers in Ontario
yes.
more challenging to find?
Not really.
Okay.
It might be challenging to find in regards to, it may not be at your stereotypical grocery store, but this is a great opportunity to support local stores, which are, for example, the little side purveyors that are off the street and providing local strawberries, local berries, local fruits and things of that nature. And you'll find them a lot more in those kind of places. And so this happens to be one of the purveyor stores that's really just close to where we live, and we try to shop as much as we can from them. And it's just awesome. It's a win-win for everybody.
Now, for those at home that may not be able to find them, can they replace that with like a...
You can use an English cucumber, easy peasy, yes. So this is just a cherry, this is just a heirloom tomato. You're just gonna add it to all of the raw ingredients that we have here. A little bit of mint, tomato, mint, strawberry. We have salt and pepper that we're going to add to it. The salt is going to break down the tomatoes and leach out some of its water content, and same as the strawberries and the cucumber. This is a little bit of a chili. You gotta have some chili. And a touch of
like
cumin.
the spice.
Yeah. And I leave all that up to you guys as to how much you want to make it spicy or mild, and et cetera, et cetera. So in this case, we have all the raw ingredients. Just give them a toss. Let the salt and pepper and chili and all that stuff break down some of the tomatoes and strawberries. And then we're going to add some of these garlic and croutons.
And is there a specific, the chili you put in, is it specific
So
type of chili?
yeah, I try to use a slightly better chili. And by that, I mean so this is a dry chili, and they call this Korean chili. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific. What I try to look for is, this is the kind of chili that doesn't have the seeds in it. It's more of just the skin. And I find the skins of the chili to be a little bit sweeter, more of paprika, if you want to say. It's got a much better, and it's a lot easier on your stomach too. Okay, so these guys, you're gonna just toss them all together, and if you're anything like me, you can never have enough olive oil.
So on the question of olive oil, Chef, I'm going to go over the screen to take a live question, or ask you a live question. So Liz, who's out there, thanks for joining us, Liz, on Miele Live. Does it matter what kind of olive oil you're using?
Yes, it does. Extra virgin olive oil is, I'm pretty sure you can find anywhere. Is preferable to have at home. Do yourself a favor. I know there are different quality of olive oils out there, and it gets a little bit confusing. It gets confusing for myself too when I go shopping. I shop for home as well. So when you are seen at a store and it's a varietal of olive oil, and they range anywhere from single-digit dollar, from $9 to like $50 for a bottle of olive oil, and you think to yourself, well, how much better could it be? I would recommend, this might be a point in life where you might want to splurge, and you can keep it for quite a while. This, a $20 or $30 bottle of oil, a deep, rich, colored green olive oil gives you slightly pepperiness, bitterness, and it's a lot. It'll literally transform your cooking from what you are to slightly better. It's like anything else. It's better ingredients, better cooking. You cannot go wrong with that. So in terms of quality of olive oil, if you have a chance, please do yourself a favor, buy a good quality of olive oil. And what I would highly recommend, which happens a lot at home, is when you buy a bottle of olive oil, take just a portion of it out and leave it on your counter. Put the rest of the olive oil in your fridge. Probably you're not going to go through a liter of olive oil in a week. That's quite a bit for home cooking. But what you do want is just have like a small little jar or mason jar of it out. Olive oil does expire. Olive oil does oxidize. And that, to me, is what I find is most people get disappointed when they do buy quality of olive oil, and 3 weeks later they think to themselves, this doesn't taste good anymore. Well, it is a fruit, and the juice and the oil from a fruit, and it has gone a little bit oxidized.
So you can actually put it in the fridge?
Yeah, you put I usually just take out a small amount, same as truffle oil, olive oil, really good quality
oils.
Yeah, that you buy, avocado oil, pistachio oil, and all those kind of stuff that you want to make vinaigrettes with. Yeah, you just put it in your condiments in your fridge. Just take a small amount of it out and use it as you will. And when it empties out, you take the olive oil out of the fridge, refill, put it back in. It just makes a fantastic difference.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, really fantastic difference. So in here, like I said, we've added olive oil and stuff like that. This is just tomato canned puree. Yeah, nothing special. It's a DOP, like a San Marzano tomatoes, just to add a little bit of body and texture. And what we've done is made a homemade tomato paste. Easy peasy, you can make your own tomato paste, but basically what we've done is taken tomatoes, shallot, and 1 or 2 garlic, and you put it in a pan and very slowly cook it until it all breaks down and it becomes a paste. You evaporated a lot of its liquid out, and what has happened is the onion has caramelized, the garlic has infused itself, and tomato has melted out and becomes a tomato paste. This is pretty much tomatoes that are really intensified because it's tomato paste now. It has really intensified in flavor and color. So what we've done is just layering flavor profile in this strawberry tomato gazpacho.
So that, with the tomato paste, again, it just intensifies that tomato flavor from the fresh that
Yes.
you have, the paste that you have. or-
Yes. And also,
puree.
it's a fantastic thing because right now heirloom tomatoes and vine-ripened tomatoes are in season. So, when you buy a bunch of tomatoes and you really like it and you think to yourself, oh my God, you can't get any better than this, but you still want to use it, let's say, in February, this is a fantastic opportunity to make a tomato paste, and you have it in your fridge. They'll last a long time. And the next time you make pasta marinara or something of that nature, you put a little bit of that tomato paste, and it'll bring back that summer and spring and depth of flavor that you really wanted. So at this stage, these guys are just going to mellow and do their own thing, and the cucumbers are going to leach out some of their water and gives you that little bit of grassiness and fruitiness that comes from cucumber. And you also have the strawberries, which gives you great acidity. It matches really well with the tomato acidity. And then you have the tomato paste, which has a little bit of umami flavor.
Right.
The bread has been toasted, has caramelization, and they're soaking up any juices that are there. And you're not losing any flavor. We have a little bit of cumin in here, just a touch of chili. And all these flavors are going to mend with each other. At this point, I would pretty much saran wrap it, put it in your fridge. The next day, you're just going to puree it.
And I got to say, I know our viewers out there cannot smell this, but, although you really only, saute the onions and garlic, whether it's the heat from that has brought out the cumin flavor, even some of the chili, you really smell that
Right.
and the balance.
And there's
of the
something
freshness.
very aromatic about strawberries that when you start cutting them and the salt touches in, there's also aromaticness in cucumber as well. This is one of my favorite things, and oh my God, you can't get enough of this.
So pretty
much.
easy so far for the.
This is as easy as it gets, yeah, right. So when it comes to the next day, you're just gonna puree it, use your favorite Miele Cuisinart, Robocoupe, whatever you have, and puree it. And you'll get a smooth textured soup. Like I said, just to finish it, and maybe a touch of salt and pepper to your own liking.
Yeah.
This is the finished product. So we have actually pureed the strawberry and tomato gazpacho with the bread and everything in it. And the wonderful thing about it is not a single flavor has been lost. The bread has soaked it up
Right.
and also softened up as well. At this stage, you can pretty much have the soup on its own if you like. But at the restaurant, we managed to just add a little bit of
Yeah,
garnish
absolutely.
and have fun with it. Okay.
Maybe a little bit more than garnish, chef.
Yes.
If you call lobster garnish, but okay.
Yeah. So basically what we do is we try to highlight some of the ingredients that are in the soup as a garnish as well. So in this case, we're just going to dice up some of that Persian cucumber, some of the strawberries, and use them in the bowl itself. You can really do this as finesse as possible, or you can do it as
Rustic
just
and,
rustic as you want. There's no right or wrong way, to be honest.
Chef, just another question from Liz out there in regards to the Persian cucumber.
Okay.
Liz, I assume you're here in the GTA. So she's asking where to purchase. I know you mentioned it's going to be more local, corner stores or, fruit stands that are around the city itself.
I have no doubt that, Liz, you probably have seen Persian cucumbers. You just never paid attention to it. It is, no, and I mean that
Yeah.
not in a slight. It's just something that people are not aware of it. Some of the stores that you can easily find them, for example, some of the, like a Cheese Boutique, which is one of my favorite stores. If you have never been to Cheese Boutique on Ripley Avenue, please do so. It is like the Disneyland of food. You'll go in there and you're just like, oh my God. And one of the most fabulous families you'll ever meet. Cheese Boutique, Pusatera's, but also some of the more flagship stores such as like Sobeys, Metros, Loblaws, the flagship ones.
Yep.
I think they have a much larger purveyor as well.
Yeah. And a lot of those stores are now carrying some local produce from Ontario as well. So I think I've even seen it there. St. Lawrence Market.
St. Lawrence Market, and some great purveyors in Kensington Market. If you have a chance, do yourself a favor, go to Kensington Market. That's another great area in town that Definitely does require our support and our assistance to go there. I know tourism has dropped at Kensington Market, but if you have a chance, go there and just get lost because it is like
Yeah.
a wonderland of food as well.
Just make sure you don't eat before you go there. Because
Yes,
you can kind of
yes.
stop and munch along the way. So it's
Right, yeah, absolutely. So here we have a same thing as Persian cucumbers. We have watermelon radish. These are actually large radishes that when you peel it on the outside is green. When you peel them, they have this beautiful daikon pepperiness, if you want to say it, which I think adds a great element of fresh and spiciness to the dish. And all I'm doing is just simply dicing them, or like I said, you can just, however your technique is and however skill set that you have, you can just put them as a garnish. So all these ingredients, I'm just going to put them in a bowl to give it a mix. So here's some of the daikon, some of the strawberries, some of the cucumber, and this is a ready-made sausage. You can find this, like I said, at any purveyor as well, any stores. It's called Nduja sausage. In this case, we've just basically rolled them into a ball, which is like, oh my God, is it ever good? It's very delicious, super spicy. I don't know if you can take spice, but
I can take spice.
it's smoky, it's spicy, it's paprika-y. And with the freshness of strawberry, it's like, oh my God. Okay, one of my favorite things. And we have lobster here. Lobster pretty much, I know a lot of stores that actually have pre-cooked lobster, so it's not something you're gonna have to go through the trouble of making it, but if you were to do it, these are 1.5 lobsters. I'm still tasting that. Nduja.
And I can tell you, it has quite. I like spice. That is quite a bite.
It's quite an intensity in regards to salt, pepper, and paprika.
But I could see mixed in with those other flavors that you have.
It adds
A nice
great
counterbalance.
Yeah, it cuts through the richness of freshness, if you want to say. So it's not a one-note dish, if you want to say. So like I said, this is a 1.5 pound lobster that you can just at home boil for about 8 minutes. So what happens is the lobster will become about medium well. It's not fully cooked lobster. It has a little bit of tenderness in it. And you just let it chill. Great substitute for this dish is you can do shrimp, easy peasy. And you can use that as well. You can use crab meat, shrimp, your favorite pre-cooked flakes of fish, such as salmon, you know, if you've done any of that stuff at home. So the garnish, like I said, we have some daikon, cucumber, and strawberries. We're just gonna season it with a little bit of salt, some of that chili, a little pinch of that cumin, just to reinforce some of the flavors that are in the soup. This is the oil from the tomato paste that we have cooked up. So it's actually tomato oil.
Wow, that's super rich looking in color.
And this is one of the things that you will save for the winter time. It's fantastic. Give it a mix.
Now, at the restaurant, if a customer is vegetarian, can you guys serve this dish as
Of course,
as
you
a
just omit.
vegetarian dish?
This is such a versatile dish, so you can just omit the lobster or
The
the
andouille.
andouille, or if you wanted to make it gluten-free, you can do the same vegetarian dish, which is actually vegan,
Yeah.
without the bread. Yeah, so it's such a versatile dish that you can just make at home and leave it to your own preference. For me personally, I use a couple of these Nduja sausages, and in the same bowl where we just had the tomato cucumber, the strawberry cucumber, we're just gonna add some of the poached lobster, which we had the claws. And if you can serve this as a lunch or as an appetizer for your dinner time. And how easy it is to have all of this pre-made at home. If you're entertaining at home, you have a couple of friends coming, the soup is pureed, chilled, made pre-hand, it's in the fridge. Whether you're using lobster or whether you're using shrimp,
Right.
it's
Also
already
can be-
chilled in the fridge. And you can already pre-cut some of your strawberry and cucumber to put as a garnish. And you don't have to be slaving over the stove when you have guests over. Or just do it for yourself.
But right now, I could see that as a great dish out on your patio
And
during the
this,
summer. What a fantastic dish to have with.
and this is one of the, stylistically speaking, one of the most signature dishes if we have right now. Of course, talk about the hot days and rosé. This dish screams rosé, especially when you're sitting outdoor on a patio,
a nice
especially
cold
since
rosé.
you've been cooped up for 4 months at home, listening to some nonsense propagandic thing from news. Okay, and here we have some garnishes. One of my favorite things is mint. Mint is pretty much something that anybody can grow at home. It is one of the easiest things to grow at home. And what I really like about mint is when you are home gardening, which is pretty much a pot sitting in front of your
And
windowsill,
it just grows.
and it grows and you put it in your dish, it gives you a little bit of ownership as if the recipe belongs to you. This is the mint I grew in my own home, you know, and you can just literally use it, just tear it a little bit and it perfumes. One of the best things I really like to do with mint is put it in your palm, give it a crush, that releases the aromas, and you can just tear 1 or 2 pieces here and there. Isn't it?
It releases those oils.
It releases the oils, and also when it goes to your guests, you can smell the fresh of the strawberry, fresh of the cucumber, and the mint. Also, we have some micro basil here. These are basils that you can pretty much buy anywhere, local stores, and some little bit of flower petals just to give it that lightness and airiness as if we are in the summer and not living a pandemic. And this is your strawberry gazpacho with Nduja sausage. And you can put this at your table with your friends, and you can pour it table side. And the way I would pour it table side is actually just leave it off the side. And that's pretty much it.
So, Chef, I personally love gazpachos. I think that, first of all, it's one of the prettiest gazpachos I've seen. But also just watching you build the flavor profiles. It's a very complex dish as far as sweet. You know, we have the spicy, we have the salty, really, really complex in texture as well. So amazing dish. We do have a question from Thomas Shema out there. So Thomas, welcome to Miele Live. Do you have to cook the Nduja?
No, you don't. Nduja is a sausage that's been made. So pretty much think of a Spanish version of chorizo, which is what it is. It's a chorizo sausage that's been cooked, and what they do is they, instead of putting in a casing of a chorizo, which is sausage looking, they actually just leave it, and you can buy it in a jar. I've seen it, I think, at Metros and things like that. It's not very expensive. It's like $5-6 for a jar. Really great flavor, and it's something that you can actually spread on a bread. So it's pretty much a sausage that's been made into a paste, except it has a lot of flavors and umamis and things of that nature. It's a great way to just put a spoon or two in your, you know, whatever meat sauce that you're making at home. It'll instantly lift up quite a bit of its flavor. This is also a dish that really was inspired because my niece and nephews would refuse to eat vegetables, but what a great way to cheat.
You're a good uncle.
So what a great way for all the moms to cheat your children by pretending they're having a strawberry dish. You can obviously omit the lobster dish and all the other stuff in it, but what a great way to introduce cucumber, tomatoes, and as if they're having a strawberry soup. And fantastic. Yeah.
But it looks like also a fun dish a family could do together.
Absolutely.
Different people prepping different aspects of it.
And like I said, it doesn't have to
together.
be perfect at all. You can just, whatever your skill sets are, you're going to puree it anyway.
So, Chef, another question that we got was in regards to gazpacho, sometimes it's too thick. What would you suggest in this one if somebody was making it? It's a little thick. What should they use to thin it out a little bit?
You can use vegetable stocks. I think Campbell's makes vegetable stocks, beef stock, chicken stock, just a cup or two of it, depending on which direction you want to keep the soup at. If you want to keep it vegetarian, vegan, yeah, there's vegetable broth that you can get. Just add 1 or 2 cups of it and brings the thickness and the consistency to the direction you want. For me personally, I really like it nice and thick and puree because you can actually get quite a nuances of all the flavors. It also reinvigorates and it brings you back to the dish with every bite, especially a sip of rosé.
Rosé. You're liking the rosé.
It really
I got it.
balances you out. Listen, we've been cooped up for 4 months, man. Like, so yeah.
And you were talking about, it is a great dish for parties. If I, have that prepped and I've pureed it, how long can that actually hold in the fridge?
That is a variable question. I would say in the simplest way, probably for a good week.
Okay.
Without losing its aroma of strawberries. It doesn't go bad. You just lose a little bit of oxidation, and
Right.
Cucumbers has been broken down as it's been pureed. For a week later, it's not going to be bad or anything like
Okay.
that. It's just not going to be as potent as.
But a couple of days should be totally fine.
Easily. I highly doubt it will last a couple of days.
So an amazing dish. I wanted to ask you, so the restaurant itself, FK Restaurant, kind of what was the inspiration behind the restaurant? If you were to describe the food to those that haven't been there, I know you're very dedicated to local, seasonal, but kind of what else is the inspiration behind the restaurant itself?
Well, like I said, we opened our first restaurant, which is what the continuation of this restaurant that we're at now. We opened our restaurant 10 years ago. It's called Frank's Kitchen. I was 31 when we opened our restaurant, which was pretty young. I had been an executive chef, and I had been worked and trained at some of the best chefs in the city, and I worked at some of the best marquee restaurants in the city as well. And you eventually rise to a certain accolades where, you got to do your own restaurant. You have to open your own atelier, if you want to say, which means workshop. You have to open your own atelier, if you want to say. So, naive, which is really great, by the way, for any entrepreneurs out there, be as stupid as possible because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So when you're 31 years old and you think, I can do it all, yes, my wife and I, who also is the equivalent of myself, was on top of her game in regards to being GM at Air Canada, opened up Platinum Club, and just a fabulous front of house. Who is my boss, by the way.
Is that the way it works? Front of house is the boss of, okay,
yes.
got it.
But also when your wife is the front of house,
true, okay.
she's your
point.
boss, buddy. So together we opened up Frank's Kitchen on College Street, and to our surprise, we rubbed $2 against each other. We had a very modest restaurant, but in terms of quality of service and food and intelligence of technique, and we really were very fortunate to have received like top 10 across the board, all kinds of accolades, and we were the little engine that could, and it was quite unbelievable. And you realize how lucky you are. Hard work does pay off, and so after 10 years, our lease was up, and it was time to move on. We moved to St. Clair, and what a great opportunity it's been so far.
That's fantastic. So you've shared this dish with us. I just want to ask you, and I'm sure you have a variety of signature dishes, but what's a dish you love to make that's been on the menu or is still on the menu right now?
To me, there's nothing more important than making bread. I think throughout the week, we would make about 5, 6 to 10 varietals of bread, from sourdough to baguettes to focaccias and all those sorts of kind of styles of bread. And it's a gesture from the restaurant when you come in to present, a freshly made bread. And we would definitely time it. So we would open up by 6 o'clock. We don't have lunches or things of that nature. So we would open up by 6 o'clock, and the bread was made by 5:30, like literally pushing it to the limit, so that when our first came in, you would have the first freshly baked bread you could possibly have. Whether it was sourdough or a variety of them, and home churned butters or hummuses or things of that nature. To me, is the most humblest of them all, which is the bread. But I think it really encapsulates.
But it really is an art.
It really encapsulates us, yeah.
Like over the past months, talking to chefs that have been here, but also honestly home cooks that have been out there, our customers.
And be making sourdoughs.
Bread baking has been really one of the hottest topics,
Right.
and really people trying to understand that it is a lot more science and art than you really actually think it is.
And it's also an incredible gesture of love, because for example, I am the baker at our restaurant.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, so like every day would take us, 3-4 hours to make this bread. So your timing, but at the same time, this is one of those things that are not. It's not something you purchase. It is not something that you buy or anything of that nature. It's a gesture from us to our guests. And the bread making is something, whether you're home cooked and has been around since the dawn of time, since you've been able to farm and get grain and dry it and roast it and flour it and sift it and then add water and simple ingredients like water and salt and make a dough out of it and make bread. You realize it's one of those recipes, one of those things in life that will never be out, but it is a very nostalgic thing. It's imprinted on your soul, on your DNA. It doesn't matter how modernized you are. When you eat a piece of bread and the crust of it, it really takes you back to a place or a moment. You don't know why, but it's part of you.
But it's also one of those things that is very tactile. Like you as a chef or a baker are very in touch with a living thing in making the dough of bread. And I think that's the amazing part.
I also think about home cooks as well. For example, when you're doing, obviously bread making, but even simple things like deviled egg. When you think about you're a mother or you're a person who is having guests over, you got to boil eggs. You got to make sure it's perfectly boiled, hard-boiled eggs, which is a challenge on its own. Then you got to sit there and peel each one of them. This process of, as you're doing it, you're thinking about your guests, you're thinking about the person who you're entertaining. Well, for us, it's the same thing. There is something very unique, and it's not just tactile, but it's also unique and spiritual about it when we go through that journey every day. When we start making bread, making dough, making starters, fermenting things, and on the end result, which is around 5:30, close to 6 o'clock, where the breads are coming out of the oven and the guests are coming in. You have been thinking about your guests. You're thinking about today's table that you receive notes from. It's their anniversary, it's someone's birthday, it's their first time out. And that is probably our signature in terms of style, in terms of caring and thinking about our guests quite a bit.
That's amazing. So, Thomas, I see you have a question for Chef. I'm not going to put Chef necessarily on the spot right now, but I'll ask the question to Chef. He doesn't have to answer right now. We can certainly. But Thomas, thanks for joining us. Thomas has a question. Do you or would you consider offering private video instructions, Chef?
To be honest, I'm so amazed that this is going well, and maybe it's just in my head that it's going well.
You're doing amazing. You really are doing amazing.
But I'm not one of the guys who does private, I don't know whatever this is. I'm very fortunate that Kelly is really guiding us through this.
You're doing amazing, honestly.
It's something, I'm sure it's something we'll consider in the future.
Yeah, because I'm sure, what you just described with bread baking and the care that you guys really put in, I'm sure it's something that, I think our home viewers would love to engage you in.
I'm sure they have gone through this in the last 3 months because every shelf of flour, yeast was empty. You couldn't get flour anywhere. Or cheesecake, that was another one. You couldn't get cream cheese anywhere.
So very last question, Chef, before we sign off, and it's been amazing having you here. We were talking earlier, your background is Persian.
Yes.
How does your background actually, how does that make that way into some of your dishes that you do, whether it's ingredients or the dish itself, actually?
Well, I'm very fortunate to come from a country that has, not its government, but I'm very fortunate to come from a country that has such a depth of rich culture and history. This kind of cooking is very universal, whether you're from Middle East or Asia or North America, using fresh local ingredients, simply treated, and really trying to put some of your spirit and appreciation for the guests that you're cooking with. Like I said, the inspiration of this dish was to try to feed my niece and nephews, fresh strawberries, if you want to say, or vegetables. But this is pretty much what every old school culture is really about, using local ingredients, leave it alone, and just have fun with it.
But again, depth of flavor in this dish is actually
Yeah,
really
obviously
what
like the
sets it
Persian
apart a little
cucumber
bit.
or a little bit of cumin, toasted bread and fresh herbs is very much indicative of our culture from Iran. Like we are big on eating raw vegetables and tomatoes and things of that nature, especially when it's in season.
Yeah.
This is right up our alley. The lobster part, not very much, because we are in a desert in the middle of the Middle East, but a lot of the raw ingredients.
Somehow that lobster made its way on.
You have to be Canadian. You have to be Canadian.
Absolutely. So, Chef Frank, thank you so much.
It was absolutely my pleasure.
Again, I know you guys are busy trying to get back to normal, whatever that normal
Yes.
looks like. But again, FK Restaurant here in Toronto. Unfortunately, for those of you that are watching us from the West Coast or the East Coast, not in Toronto, again, hopefully you can actually take the inspiration that Chef Frank has shared with us today, try it yourselves at home. But again, for those of you that are on Toronto, St. Clair and Bathurst area.
St. Clair and Bathurst area. Our address is 770 St. Clair West. And if you don't visit us, please continue visiting your local stores or restaurants or hair shops or convenience store. It does take a little bit of effort, but from one entrepreneur who's out there, I'm very grateful and very thankful for all the support that we have received.
And again, you guys are open.
Currently, we're open 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays,
Saturday?
from 4 o'clock till about 9 o'clock for reservations. We are definitely doing our best to accommodate everybody as we can.
And again, reservations are really recommended,
Yes.
which will help you as a diner, but also chef and the
As well,
team
yeah.
running the restaurant itself. So I think that's great. Website, Chef, for
FKRestaurant.com. You know what? I don't know.
well, we'll get that. We'll post that in the comment section, anyways, for sure. But visit the website for the menu.
Current menu, wine
menu.
list, curbside, and how to get in touch with us as well.
And you guys, you're baking bread right now, even with the patty, or you're not?
On
so
this
much?
particular menu, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we are. Yeah.
So get down there to try some of the bread, at least on this menu, for sure. So again, Chef, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my
for
pleasure.
sharing
Thank you.
an amazing dish. And I know together, we're going to purchase 100 meals from you.
And thank you very
That's,
much for that. Yeah.
And together we're going to actually donate that to those that really need that during
Yeah.
these times as well out there right now. So, when you're down there, be sure, I'm sure Chef will recommend a glass of rosé
A glass of rosé is a must.
during this time. So again, want to thank all our viewers for joining us again on Miele Live with our campaign, #MieleDinesLocal. Next Wednesday, we have on July 29th on Miele Dines Local, we have Ginkgo Japanese Restaurant here in Toronto as well joining us, who's going to share their signature dish. So be sure to visit back. Be sure again to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest videos. And we will have more actually demonstration classes with our chefs here. Coming up using our steam oven, our convection steam ovens. You'll learn about induction cooktops, so be sure to sign up for that as well. Want to thank Chef Frank and FK Restaurant again for joining us this afternoon, and want to thank all of you for joining us. Be safe and really try to support your local small businesses in whatever community you're at across the country right now. We want to thank you on behalf of Miele and FK Restaurants. We very, very lastly want to send a very, very big thank you once again to all the frontline workers that continue to service our communities across the country out there. Thank you so much, and thank all of you for joining us. Have a great day.